Okay, so it's 2:30. We will get underway as others join. I'm sure we can introduce them and bring them up to speed. So welcome. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming along. My name is Matt Wake. I'm the Council's Communications Manager. My role today is purely to facilitate the webinar today. So I'll be shortly handing off to Roger Ranson and Rachel Armstrong from our planning policy team. They'll take you through the substantive part of the webinar. So the purpose for the webinar today is essentially to take you through our call for sites, which is part of the local plan process. So Roger will be delivering us a short presentation on that to explain exactly what the call for sites is, where it fits into the local planning process and what happens next. Rachel will be doing us a quick demonstration of the online interactive mapping function, which way you can go on our website to see all of the sites that have been submitted to Rutland County Council as part of its recent call for sites for the local plan. As I've said to those who have been waiting ready, please don't worry about videos and microphones. At the moment, you should just be able to see and hear from the three of us. As we've completed the presentation, when we get to the end, we will open up mics. We'll ask people to raise hands rather, and then we'll kind of open up mics for any questions that you may have towards the end. I should say as well that we're hoping to, we are recording this meeting because we hope to be able to publish it online after it's taken place for people that can't attend. We expect it to be roughly about 45 minutes from start to finish. So that includes the presentation and the Q&A at the end. So we'll hopefully have your way in just under an hour. All that remains just for me to stress is that, again, this is a presentation about the call for sites and where it sits within the local plan process. So what we won't be able to do is answer any questions about specific developments that are either taking place in the county or have been proposed. This is simply about the call for sites that has taken place, started in February as part of Rutland's new local plan, what that entails, the sites that have been submitted, how you can view them, and the next steps as part of that process. So before keep you any longer, I'll hand over now to Roger, who will take you through the presentation.
Okay, I shall just share my screen and hopefully be able to find the screen I need to show you. It's just disappeared. We don't want that one, but hopefully that's at the end. Okay, can you see that okay?
We can see your web browser at the moment, Roger, not the presentation.
And yeah, oh, what's happened there? Sorry about that. I should stop sharing and try again. Any better?
It's spot on, yeah. Well done.
Yeah. Okay, my apologies for that. So as Matt was saying, thank you very much for coming and giving up your cold afternoon in December to spend some time with us in terms of sharing with you where we are with progressing the local plan. As Matt said, we intend to cover for the majority of time call for sites, as we've just published that information on the website, and yeah, it's still relevant for us. Just to say what else we'll just touch on as we're going along, the evidence base to support the local plan. We'll let you know what's progress has been made around that. We'll briefly touch on issues and options, consultation responses, timetable, and then following that, just make you aware about where we are in terms of current housing supply and position in Rutland. But the main focus is on call for sites. So just to say, what does that mean? What is it? It's really a chance for mainly landowners and developers, but potentially other people, to put forward and suggest land that they think may be suitable for development over the next 20 years. So that could be for a range of uses, housing, employment, leisure, etc. That 20-year period is really the period that we're looking at for the local plan. We have to have at least a 15-year period to work to. So generally speaking, the plan is looking for the period up to 2041, although once it's adopted, it will be kept under revision as we're going along. Call for sites is a really important part of the early stages of the plan because we need to know what sites are available for development and what sites landowners want to see promoted for development in terms of where they are, so that we're assured that whatever we come forward with in the plan is deliverable. What does it mean in terms of those sites? Say this is an early stage, so the call for sites doesn't mean to say that the sites have been submitted to us and have now been published, will be allocated. It's really important, I think, for us to stress that, because as you'll come on and see later on, there's a great number of sites that have been put forward, and like I say, there's a process for us to go through to see what's suitable, deliverable, and what's necessary for us to allocate to meet identified needs. So the sites that themselves have no weight or status in terms of planning permission, planning terms. They're not being allocated at the moment, and it doesn't mean to say that they will get permission at a later date. It's for us to make sure we've got as wide a range of possibilities to consider early on, and then we'll start the process for reviewing those at the moment. So the data before you is very much the raw data, and that's available for public inspection through the link there, www.rutland.gov.uk/call4sites. And what I'll do now, if I can, is stop sharing my screen, and I'll get Rachel to take you through how you can access that information and exactly what's on, and then we'll come back and pick up those other issues as we're going along.
Okay, thank you, Roger. So I'll just share my screen. Okay, can you see our website?
Yep.
Brilliant. Okay, so I'm going to take you through this as if you were going in to the general Rutland.gov.uk website, the homepage. So if we start off on the homepage, we hover over My Services and then select Planning and Building Control. And that takes us to the screen with just the two options. So we select the planning option. And then from there, we select the local plan option. And that gives us the option for the new local plan, which is where the call for site sits. So if we select the new local plan, and then we select call for sites. And that takes us to the call for sites page. Now, if you use the shortened link that's in the presentation that Roger just showed you, that will take you direct to this page. And from this page, we can click on the View the Interactive Map. And that will take us through to our interactive map. So you can see there's a little tip there. If you just click the X in the corner, that closes that tip down. So that's the map of Rutland, and that's got all of the sites that have been suggested to us for all of the various different uses. If you go down to the bottom left of the screen, you'll see that there's two tabs, one for map layers and one for address search. If you click on the map layers, that will bring up this with the different layers for the different uses the sites have been proposed to us. You can click them on and off using the on and off buttons. So if I click off all layers, and then I select the residential layer, for example, and select on, that should bring up all the red sites. There we go. Just have to be a bit patient. So that shows us all of the residential sites. If I take that layer off, and then we show, for example, the minerals and waste layer, sites that have been proposed to us, you'll see they come up in green. And we can just minimize this screen by clicking that arrow. And there you can see those. To focus down and zoom down into the map layer, you can use your mouse to roll, just roll forward, and it'll zoom in and out of the map. So using that function, we can select an address as well. So let's just put the residential layer back on and then go through the address search, and let's just put in oh, there's one, look, Catmus Road, Park Road rather, in Oakham. So you enter that, put in, so you could put in your own address, for example, and see what sites are near you. Again, let's minimize this screen, and using the rolling function on your mouse, you can zoom out and you can see what sites have been put forward near your house, for example. Now, to find out what that site's been proposed for, if you can double click where the little hand is shown, if you double click on that, it'll put the little map pin into the map and it'll bring up the information about that site. So it'll give you the ID of the site, the reference number for the site, its address, what it's currently used for, and whether it's got planning permission and what its proposed use is for. And we could do the same for other areas of the county. So if I just take off the housing layer or put all layers on, and again for that location where I put my map pin, we can see that there's also a suggested site there for a major leisure use, which is being put forward. And then again, if we scroll out and click over here, we can see that there's a site put forward for commercial and employment use alongside the railway line. So really, it's just about interrogating the map layers using your address or a particular location, maybe a village, maybe you want to look at the whole county, maybe you want to look via the different layer types by different proposed uses, but there's different ways of interrogating the information in there. So if I can stress again, as Roger has already said, these sites are all the sites that have been put forward to us to consider. They have no planning status. We're just reflecting the information that's been suggested to us at this stage. Obviously, there will be a number of stages going forward in terms of assessing the sites and deciding which sites are most suitable for development. Okay, so if I stop sharing my screen now. And hand back to Roger.
Okay, and so as Rachel said, you know, what we will do is hopefully let you know what happens next. So as we, you'll reiterate the message if you haven't got it already. These are the sites that have been put forward by landowners and developers. You know, the next stage for us is to assess them, looking at sustainability principles, suitability, and looking at that in terms of need, and following that process, then the sites that were considered most appropriate in Rutland to meet its future needs will be included within the next stage of the local plan, which we're calling the preferred option stage. And that will be subject to public consultation. So at that stage, we will publish not obviously just the plan itself, but the evidence behind it and the thinking behind it in terms of how we've carried out that assessment. And that should take place late summer next year. Just to, while we've got you here, while you're a captive audience, just to let you know what else we're working on in terms of progressing the local plan. A big chunk of our time has been looking at updating the evidence base, and that's continuing. So we've commissioned work on sustainability appraisal, habitat regulations, assessment, landscape, green and blue infrastructure, including open spaces, renewable energy, gypsy and trolley accommodation assessment, and work on biodiversity. That's all work that's currently underway. And we're just about to commission some additional evidence around housing needs. That's in time to align with the more detailed data coming out from the 2021 census related to that employment needs and land. Do some work looking at for the two main town centres, health checks for those, work on strategic flood risk assessment, water cycle study. And then towards when we get closer to the next stage of the plan, preferred options, it's really important that what we're proposing, both in terms of allocation and policies, is viable, so that, again, we can be assured that development can happen as a result of the plan. And equally, we need to be fully aware about what the implications of what's being proposed in terms of its impact on existing infrastructure. And then finally, on top of that, we've been reviewing what's required within the plan, particularly following issues and options around meeting climate change and carbon reduction. All that evidence, when it's finalised, we will publish on the council's website. It won't be subject to consultation in itself, but it'll be there for everybody to see, as and when it becomes available. So again, if you haven't done so already, if you want to contact us to make sure you're on our mailing list for consultation, we'll let you know when that's available, so you can see how the work that's progressing in terms of the plan leads into the next stage of the of consultation, which, like I say, will be on preferred options. Just to go back a bit, you'll be aware that we've already undertaken the first stage of consultation through issues and options, which is a very broad strategic look at what the key issues are that have been identified and what the options are around developing those. Really happy with the response rate we've got from that in terms of total number of respondents, the level of representations, which is how many of those responses, a number of questions they answered along the way. Thanks for people who dropped into the sessions that we held around the county while that consultation's coming in. There is a report scheduled to go to Cabinet in January, which just summarises responses to all those options. So again, we'll be making that public so you can see what it is. Again, it's raw data really in that sense. It is what you've told us before we get to the stage of drilling down and analysing it in any more detail. But hopefully it's a means whereby we can keep you informed as we develop the next stage of the plan. Quite often at this stage it goes quiet. We've done one bit of consultation. We won't be out for another stage of consultation till later, but we want to try and build on the momentum from the issues and options consultation and keep people informed as to how the plan's being progressed and how it's being worked on in the meantime. So that leads me on to timetable. The timetable on the right is the one that we published for the issues and options. I'd say we will be publishing evidence as it goes along. We're conscious that we have full out elections in May, so that raises issues about what we can say in the PERDA period leading up to the elections, but also we'll have a new group of members, assuming there's some changes around that period, and so that group of members hopefully will be the ones that will see the plan through to its adoption. So we recognise that there's quite a bit of time and effort that we'll need to put in place to brief the new set of members before we get to the next stage of public consultation. So that probably means that we're looking for that consultation on that preferred options to happen, what we've called late summer, September, October time, with us seeking cabinet approval to that, prior to that period. So again, that's built into the report that's going in cabinet for cabinet to determine. So again, look out for that, and we'll obviously publish any revised timetable and make you aware around that. But it's really important that we use that additional time to make sure incoming elected members are fully briefed and understand the implications of what we're doing, and given the importance of the local plan to communities within Rutland, but also to developers. We want to make sure the plan delivers that certainty of development and knowledge of where that development is going to take place. So we will be using that time profitably, I think, to share with members' views as we're going along. And then finally, on that same issue, really, you'll be aware, some of you on the call at least will be aware that following the withdrawal of the local plan, the council is no longer able to demonstrate a 5-year supply. We've reassessed how much the supply is, so it is going up. So it's at the end of September, it's 4.6 years. And there are a number of schemes obviously coming forward in the interim period, although we very much prefer a plan-led approach towards development for the reasons I've set out above. But in the meantime, without having that 5-year supply under national planning guidelines, that means that decisions have to be made by looking at the adverse impacts of development and whether they significantly and demonstrably outweigh the benefits, and that's assessed against the policies that the NPPF taken as a whole. And in line with that, we've been trying to provide a framework for that. So we have separately consulted on what we've called an interim position statement. Apologies for the jargon at the bottom there. And again, we're very grateful for all the consultations and responses we received to that. And we'll be seeking delegated decision in terms of putting that framework in place, so it can be used in terms of decision making in the meantime. So just while I got you here, I thought it's useful just to give you more up-to-date information in terms of where we are in the housing supply. But I think for today, that's all we're intending to do. I will stop sharing my screen and hand back to Matt to be our MC and to take it from there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Roger. Apologies, that was really helpful and a lot packed in a short space of time. So what I would now invite you to do, if you're in the background watching, so if you move your mouse or hover over your screen, you should see an option to raise your hand if you'd like to ask a question, at which point I will come to everybody individually one by one. I can open up your mics, you'll be able to ask, and Roger and Rachel will be able to hopefully answer. So if you want to ask a question, please do raise your hand now and I'll come to you. Okay. I see a couple, so I'm going to come to them individually as I can. I've got Edwin to start us off. So Edwin, can you hear me, and are you able to speak?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hello. And your question then, please.
Well, you did say that we can't mention any specific land, but would we have the opportunities to object to any particular piece of land at any point in time through this procedure?
Yes, like I said, when we get to the next stage of the plan, then we will be putting forward those sites that we think are most suitable in terms of meeting needs. So at that stage, the draft allocations will be subject to public consultation, and we'll welcome responses to that. Obviously, things don't stop until that happens, and we have planning applications coming forward as we speak now, and there are due processes in place where you can comment on those planning applications, and like I say, if you're commenting, bear in mind, that decision-making process really about, the decision makers will need to assess the impact of the scheme against the benefits it would bring. So for the last 15 years at least, we've been objecting to a particular piece of land, and have managed to the council have withdrawn the land. But I see that it's been put forward again, so I've no doubt the residents are going to complain again about it. That it's a difficult one for us, because it's really important that we look at all possibilities around that. So there's nothing we can do to stop people putting forward those sites, but we will.
There's no guarantee that they will be actually granted planning permission, is there?
No, and that's the key bit. I think if we've not stressed that enough already, then that's a really important message for you to take away today. I think that the call for sites we've got is that first stage of asking people what they want to see put forward and promoted for development. So it's very much a long list. When we get towards the next stage of the plan, we'll have a very much shorter list of those sites that we think are suitable. So it's really important for people in the community not to think, oh, there's about 6 sites around my village and we're going to see development on all of these. That's probably going to be far from the case. But it's important for us that we are considering all possibilities. And if there may be sites that you think are more appropriate, but if the landowner doesn't want to see them developed, then it's very difficult for us to take those forward, because we would end up proposing something on a plan which then isn't deliverable, which doesn't lead us to plan through the system in that sense.
Could I just ask one more question? Looking at the plan, the map of outcome where building is, where building sites have been put forward, you won't be using all those sites. It's only a percentage of them, is it?
Yeah, so you would hope, well, it'll vary from place to place. What we have to do is, what we're doing at the moment, because of the shortage of supply we've got, we're starting from a low base. Obviously, sites are being granted permission as we're going along. We have to work out what is the number we expect to provide reasonably, and then work out the best locations for those to go. So it'd be very, very highly unlikely that all the sites around any settlement would be the ones that come forward.
Thank you.
No problem at all. And I think it's important to stress also, Roger, that that's a huge part of the preferred options consultation that will follow in late summer 23.
Absolutely.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for that. I'm going to close your mic off now and move on to the next person who I can see, which is Joanna. So Joanna, are you there? And if you can, are you able to ask your question of Roger and Rachel? Hello? I've got your mic open, Joanna, so I don't know if there's a problem your end. Okay, what I'm just going to do then is I'm going to close you off again, John. I'm going to move on to the next one. I shall come back to you. So next person I can see is Richard. Richard, are you there?
Might be.
Can I be heard? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yep, wonderful. Thank you very much.
Hello, Roger. Could you tell me whether we can actually find out the names of the people who have submitted sites for consideration? There are a couple of agricultural sites around Manton where submissions have been made, and it's difficult to know who the owners are. Can we find out who they are?
We wouldn't normally publish names. It's not an important thing for us. And in some respects, sometimes if we publish that information, people base their comments based on the person rather than the suitability of the site.
Yeah.
So it's not something we would normally publish as part of this.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Richard. Right, I'm going to try Joanna again. Joanna, are you able to hear us? And I've just opened your mic up, so you should be able to speak now as well. I'm just waiting to see if we can get through to Joanna. I will see if Joanna, so hold on a second. Joanna, are you able to type your question into the chat, or we heard a little bit there. Are you there, Joanna? Okay, the mic is open, so I'll give you a couple of seconds longer to see if we can either get the question in the chat or if you're able to get through to us on the mic, John.
If not, if you can't get through, if you can email us afterwards to localplan@rutland.gov.uk, then I'm really happy to reply to any issues you've got.
Yes, and I think that's an important point to make, Roger, in terms of the wider process as well. Obviously, we've held the webinar today just to focus on call for sites because it's only recently been published in terms of the submissions, but the local plan process is a lengthy one. And if anybody has any questions that they want to submit, there is a dedicated email address through to the planning policy team, which is published on our website, or you can submit questions through the normal customer service channels intended for the planning policy team. And obviously, we'll do our best to answer those as we go. It needn't be specific to call for sites, but that's obviously what we're focusing on today. So apologies, Joanna, that we've not been able to hear directly from you, but if you do pop your question through to the planning policy team over email, then we'll endeavour to get back to you with a response. Before we close things off, is there anybody else that would like to ask a question at all? We do have time, as we've kind of finished a little bit earlier than we were expecting. Okay, I'm going to take that as a no. So thank you ever so much, everybody, for joining. What I will do is I'll close the meeting now. And as I said, we'll be looking to make a recording of this available for people to watch if they couldn't make it. And we'll be posting that on the website in the coming days. Thank you very much indeed. And I appreciate your time. Have a good afternoon.